In this video, I'll talk about non-neediness, which is the most attractive quality a man can have. And believe it or not, non-neediness is actually very closely related to what we've talked about before, about inferiority, about insecurities, about shame. So here's why shy and nervous guys are actually needy. See, shyness and social anxiety are basically a fear of disapproval, by definition. So if you're feeling nervous or anxious around someone, like a girl, you're afraid of getting judged negatively by them. So when you feel nervous when you're talking to a girl, it's because you need her to approve of you too much. In other words, the way that you feel about yourself is very dependent on how she responds to you. So, I don't know if you've ever had this. If a girl responds positively and you find out she likes you, then you're overjoyed. But if she rejects you, then you're crushed. By having these types of very strong emotional reactions to how other people respond to you, what you're basically doing is you're showing that you're very emotionally dependent on other people. And this emotional dependence is neediness. So basically, the definition of neediness that I have is neediness is putting other people's opinion of you over your own opinion of yourself. And to give credit where credit is due, I actually got this idea from a dating coach called Mark Manson. So when you are needy, then you're crushed when a girl you like doesn't like you back. When you're needy, you become attached to a girl too quickly and too easily. And, you know, if there's a girl that you like, you're always trying to monitor how she sees you, and you're trying to manipulate the perception she has of you to try to make her like you. And here's some more signs of neediness. See if you can recognize yourself in any of these. A needy guy will feel the need to brag or mention his accomplishments or possessions that he hopes will impress the girl, never realizing that doing this is in itself unattractive. A needy guy will try to hide his flaws to get acceptance from someone. A needy guy will try hard to come up with interesting lines and funny jokes to get a girl to like him. Maybe he'll even memorize lines and routines, hoping that these will help him to avoid rejection. A needy guy may try to think of excuses to talk to a girl he's attracted to in hopes that something will happen by accident without him revealing his interest. So for example, if you see a girl in your university class who you think is cute, what do you think is the better option? To sit down beside her and to say, "Hey, how's it going?" Or like, "Hey, you look interesting." Or do you think the better option is to say, "Excuse me, do you have a pen?" What do you think is the better option? It's one of the first ones for sure, because the second option is basically you trying to find some excuse to talk to the girl, and this is definitely a sign of neediness. A needy guy will often daydream and fantasize and get really strong crushes on girls that he hasn't even talked to yet. A needy guy will often call or text a girl several times in a row if she doesn't reply. And the opposite of this is obviously non-neediness. So to be attractive to a girl, you have to be non-needy, which means that you have to be less emotionally invested in her than she is in you. In fact, it's probably a very good idea to write this down. Neediness means that you have to be less emotionally invested in her than she is in you. This lack of emotional investment is non-neediness. I'll talk about this a little bit more in a bit, but non-neediness is attractive because it signals status. It shows her that you don't think that you're inferior to her. Basically, if you aren't that emotionally affected by her approval or her disapproval, then you must have a lot going on for her. That's why it's attractive. You must have like bigger things going on in your life than her. So here's some signs of non-neediness. A non-needy guy will not try to brag or try to impress the girl. He doesn't feel the need to prove anything to anyone because he's secure in himself. He believes that I am enough, that he is enough to be liked as he is, and that he's an intrinsically likable person without needing to mention impressive things about himself, like his car or his job or his university degree or some people that he knows. A non-needy guy does not try to hide his flaws or try to manipulate the way that the girl or people see him to try to get their acceptance. He knows that nobody is perfect, and that a girl who rejects you for a flaw that you have wasn't right for you anyway. For example, let's say you enjoy smoking weed, and you're trying to get some girl to like you, and you find out that she doesn't like smoking weed. Do you think it's a good idea to try to pretend like you don't like to smoke weed? No, probably not. Because even if you do get her to like you, you guys aren't fundamentally compatible. So it'll probably fall apart anyway in the end. So the best approach is to not try to hide your flaws, and that way, so you can find the people that you're compatible with. A couple more signs. A non-needy guy expresses his thoughts and desires openly and honestly. He isn't afraid to expose his true self to the girl, even with the risk of rejection. For example, he's not afraid to say that he thinks a girl is cute or interesting, or that he likes her, even sometimes right from the very beginning. So he doesn't try to hide his interest. And he also doesn't hide behind memorized lines and routines to try to avoid rejection. A non-needy guy does not start to fantasize about a girl or daydream about a future together without first talking to her, because he realizes that until he has spent many hours talking to someone, he doesn't know who she actually is like as a person. So, for example, that girl who you think is really cute, she might be totally not a great person. Maybe she likes to watch the reality TV shows you hate. Maybe she likes to go to loud clubs, which is something that maybe you hate. Maybe she just gossips all day. So, until you get to know a girl, you shouldn't be immediately won over and start to get a huge crush on her. So a non-needy guy lets girls prove their value to him before he's won over. A non-needy guy does not feel like he needs to be entertaining a girl with funny jokes, lines, or even magic tricks for her to like him. Although a sense of humor is great and a lot of girls like it, it has to be done in the right way. Most girls aren't looking for a comedian, and in fact trying to be super funny or interesting all the time when you're talking to her often just reveals your own insecurity, that you don't think she would like you unless you were entertaining. Alright, so also a non-needy guy knows that if a girl he got the number of doesn't respond to his text or his call, then she wasn't the right partner for him anyway. At the very least, he waits a few days before texting again instead of bombarding her with text messages, and if she doesn't reply, he doesn't obsess about winning her back. He moves on and is secure in knowing he can find other options. I hope now you have kind of a good idea of how neediness looks like and what non-neediness looks like. So now, why is non-neediness attractive? Well, the first reason is because non-neediness communicates status. If you think about it, you're only emotionally invested in the opinions of people who you think are higher value than you. So for example, if you were walking on the street and you see some 5-year-old kid and that kid calls you a booger face, would you be emotionally affected by his insult? Probably not, because you feel that you're higher value than that kid and that you feel like you're higher status than him. Now, on the other hand, how about if a hot girl called you a creep or called you a loser? In that case, I'm guessing you would probably be very emotionally affected by her insult. And that's because of where you place her on your value system. Whenever you think somebody is superior to you, and when you feel inferior, that's when you become emotionally invested and you become needy to get them to like you. The second reason why non-neediness is attractive is because it communicates a lack of desperation. Although many women will never admit this, they're actually very attracted to a guy who they think could have lots of other options. Basically, in psychology, this phenomenon is called pre-selection, where women very often will feel very attracted to the guy that they can see other women are attracted to. This is why so many girls are attracted to rock stars, for example, because they can see that so many other women also want him. Basically, it's not that women want a player, but she does want the guy who she thinks could get other girls, because she wants to feel like she's that girl that he picked out of all his other options because she's special. No girl just wants some guy who has no other options and he's desperately trying to win her over. It's such a common stereotype that girls often go for guys who are assholes or jerks. And why do they do this? Well, it's because these asshole guys don't give a damn about what the girl's opinion of them is, and that's what makes them attractive. And his non-neediness, unfortunately, also often makes girls overlook his bad qualities. So, maybe he's like confident and non-needy, but he's also a total loser who just gets drunk on every weekend and he has a bad job. On the other hand, most nice guys care way too much about getting a girl to approve of them. And because of this, he's too needy, he's too weak, and he's too emotionally dependent on what she thinks of him. Even though the nice guy is often technically the better option for the girl just can't go for him because her emotions won't let her become attracted to him because he's showing all this neediness. So the thing is that you don't want to become like an asshole, but you also don't want to have the bad traits of the nice guy. The best of both worlds is to become what I call the good guy. So the key is to want the girl, and you can even treat the girl with respect, but at the same time, you don't need her to like you. You're not needy, and you should be willing to walk away from the girl if she starts misbehaving, or if you find that you don't have chemistry with her. So, now that we know what neediness and non-neediness is and why it's so attractive, now the question is, how can you become non-needy? First of all, it's very important that you don't just try to appear or seem to be non-needy, but that you actually become non-needy. See, this is where a lot of the old pickup artist advice went wrong. A lot of these dating coaches tried to tell guys to pretend to be alpha males and pretend to be confident. to try to seem like they were non-needy, but in fact they actually were still very needy, and they still did need the girl's approval. So don't try to fake non-neediness. You have to actually change your life, your lifestyle, and you have to change your thinking habits to stop being so emotionally invested in the girls that you like. And the next video will show you the first way to get over this neediness.